Daf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph will begin Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Continue on with the Seder Hamarocha. So the next thing is Ukatayres le'evorim, that the burning of the Ketayres. So we said that the Ketayres is burnt after the Neiros, and the Ketayres precedes the Evorim. It precedes burning the Evorim, the limbs of the Talmid on the Mizbega Achitza. So how do we know that? How do we know that the Ketayres comes before the burning of the Evorim? This time we learned in the Brisa, Yuktam Dovshanim Babiker. By the Ketayres it says a double Babiker. It says a biker twice. So it says that the pasuk says v'hikter lav aron Ketayres samim Babiker beitivas haneres yakira. So it's a double lashon of biker. Biker, it means the morning. So it emphasizes the morning. It says it twice, but biker. So therefore, that comes earlier in the morning. So therefore, that should precede that should precede the burning of the Vorim, which only has one mention of biker. So the double mention of Ketayres, of biker, by the Ketayres says that it comes earlier. It precedes the burning of the Evorim. The Evorim, the mincha, the burning of the Evorim precedes the mincha, the hakrova of the minchas nesochim of the Talmid. By the Talmid, the korban Talmid came with the minchas nesochim. It came with the flour. It also had the wine, the yain nesochim. But here we're dealing with the mincha, with the flour. Where do we know that on the Maracha Gedolah that there's nothing burnt on the Marach Gedolah before the Talmud Shel Shachar? So meaning before the limbs of the Talmud Shel Shachar. Talmud Loimar, we learn it because it says in the Torah of Orach Aleha Ha'olah. It says Orach Aleha Ha'olah. Now I could have said simply Orach Aleha Ha'olah. It says Ha'olah. Why does it say Ha'olah with the hay? So that's coming to teach us V'amarava Ha'olah Hi Olah Rishayna. That's the first one that's on the Mizbeach. The hay, the extra hay, teaches us that this is the oila, that is the one that has to be first on the Maracha Gedolah. So there's a din that nothing can be burnt on the Maracha before the Evorim of the Talmid. The Taisus here and Taisus Psachim have two different mashmois. Taisus over here it seems to be mashma that it's only a din l'chatchila, and the Ram is mashma that way also, but Taisus Psachim says that it's ma'akiv even b'di'evet. So if it's done before the Evorim, if it would be burned, if the mincha would be first, it would be possible. Now the next is mincha, so after the burning of the Evorim of the Talmid comes the mincha. And then mincha lechavitim. The mincha precedes the chavitim. So it's after the Evorim of the Talmid, and after that is the chavitim. The chavite kain gadol. They say a serious eifa that's brought half in the morning and half in the evening. The chavitin, the mincha, the kain gadol that's brought daily, that comes after the minchas nesachim of the Talmid. How do we know that? Because the pasuk says oila umincha. The pasuk says lahakriv oila. It says lahakriv, and then the pasuk says oila umincha zevach nesachim v'ayim b'yim. So it says therefore. It has, the pasuk says that there's an oila, and then after that is the mincha. The mincha we're referring to is the mincha nesachim of the Talmid. So first is the oila, then is the mincha. So the mincha comes after the burning of the Evorim, and only after that is the chavitim. The chavitim l'nesachim, but the chavitim takes precedence. It precedes the nesachim, the wine of the yain l'nesachim of the korban Talmid. Why is that? Shum mincha. Because as we said, it's oil mincha. Now we complete the avoid of a mincha. So after the burning of the Evorim is the minchas nesachim, and then the chavitim, which is also a mincha. It's not the nesachim of the Talmud, it is a mincha. So it has the name designation of a mincha, and after that, only after that is nesachim. Unesachim the musafim, and a day where there's a korban musaf, but the nesachim of the korban Talmid, the wine, comes before the korban musaf. Why is that? Because zevach unesachim, it says zevach, the korban, the Talmid, unesachim, so they come close together, and therefore there's no other korban that comes between them. So the musaf comes afterwards. Now on the Shabbos, when we also burn the Ketayres from the Shulchan, that's with the lechem upon him, but the Musaf comes before the burning of the Ketayres. Frag the more about Tanya, but it was taught in the Baraisa Bezichen Kaidman Musofim. That was taught the opposite, that the Bezichi Levina come before the Musofim. The Gemara says Tanoi to Machlokes Tanoim. Omar Abaye Mistaver command on Musofim Kaidman Bezichen. It's mistaver to say that the Musaf is before the Musaf is before the Bezichen. Like we learned over here, that it's more mistaber to say that the Musaf comes before the burning of the Ketairos. Why is that? We said before that Babaikir is therefore the double mentioning of the Baikir means that it takes precedence and that the Ketairos comes earlier, is emphasizing Baikir, which is the early morning. Here also there's a double mentioning of Bayayim. It says Bayayim HaShabbos, Bayayim HaShabbos Yarachenu. So that's referring to the Bezichi Levina. It's referring to the Maroch of the Shulchan, setting up of the Shulchan. So it says a double expression of Bayayim. Bayayim is in the day. It's not the morning, it's later in the day. So Bayayim Bayayim, later in the day. So therefore it's mistaber to say that the Bezichi Levina that came later. It came after the Musafim, because by the Bezichen there's a double expression of Bayayim. So, Frakti Gemara, my time, therefore, well, we can ask now, my time to Mandam Bezichen, Kainam Musafim. Well, that seems to be very valid reason. So, what's the reason for the Mandam who says that the Bezichen come before the Musafim? Our answer is Gamar Chuka Chuka Mechavitim. We learn through Exer Shova from Chavitim. So we have Exer Shova. It says Chuka. It says by the Chavitim Mechoik Olam La Hashem Kol Tokta, and it says by the Bezich Levine. It says Kodesh Kedashim Hu Lemi Isha Hashem Choik Olam. So therefore we have Exer Shova. So just like we learned that the Chavitim comes before the Musa, so similarly we say that the Bezichen comes before the Musaf. Frank the Gemara, well, if you're saying you learn out Exer Shava, well, why don't you learn out everything from there? And therefore, you should say that the Bezichin should come also before the Nesachim. Gemara says, yes, but we do have Bayayim. So he agrees to Tana that we have Bayayim, which is an expression of later. So therefore, we don't learn it out completely. We learn it out to teach you that the Bezichen come before the Musafim, but we don't learn it out to teach you that it comes that early, that it comes before the Nesachim. So now the Gemara, we just analyzed the Siddur Maracha, that the Bai said Siddur Maracha believed that was Shol. And now the Gemara is returning to our Mishnah, the halachas that are mentioned in our Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, the Ketairos, the morning Ketairos that's on the Mizbeach HaZahav, they brought that bein dam la'evon. After they did the Hazal Sodam of the Talmud on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, before they burnt the Evorim on the Mizbeach, they did the Ketairos, the burning of the Ketairos. Practically more money. Who is the Tan of our Mishnah? Rabbanan. If you say it's going to the Rabbanan, ben dam leneras mi boile. Well, it's according to the Rabbanan, it should be that it was. According to them, it was burnt. That between the sprinkling of the dam and the neras and the cleaning of the lamps. So it says that it was brought ben dam le'evorim. Well, according to the Rabbanan, it's between the dam and the cleaning of the neras. And and if it's going according to Abishol, ben neros le'evorim boile. It should be said that it was burned between the neros and the evorim and the burning of the evorim. One answers La'olam Rabbanan. I'll tell you that it's going according to Rabbanan, but Siddur like Hamayri. And it's not talking about the precise order, meaning it just wants to point out the difference between the morning and the afternoon. That the Ketairos was burned in the morning, it was before the burning of the Evorim of the Talmud. In the afternoon, it was after the burning of the Evorim of the Talmud. But it's not dealing with the precise order. So Rashi points out, therefore, really you could say it's going to Avishol as well. It could be going according to either one of them. It mentions the Rabbanan because that's the Rabbim. That's the Das Rabbim. But since it's not precise in the order, it just wants to point out the chilek, the difference between the morning and afternoon. Really, it could be going according to either one of them. So the Mishnah continues, "Shel bein harabayim ha'isakreiva bein evorim l'nesochim." In the afternoon, it was burned between the burning of the evorim of the Talmud and the nesochim. Menahani mile, where do we know that from? Amar Rav Yochanan, Damar Kro, Ki Minchas Habayker, Ocheniskoi Tasa. It says that, like the mincha of the morning and the niska, you should do the afternoon mincha. So therefore, ma minchas habayk, just like in the case of the morning mincha, the ketairis kaidemis l'nesachim, the ketairis precedes the nesachim, as we learned before, meaning and precedes both the minchas nesachim and the wine of the nesachim. Avkan ketairis kaidemis l'nesachim. In the afternoon, also the ketairis, it goes before the nesachim. So, well, why don't you say extend it further? And just like in the morning, the kataris comes before the burning of the evorim of the Talmud, Avkan kataris kaidemis le'evorim, should say in the afternoon as well, that the kataris comes before the burning of the evorim of the Talmud. Well, it says, no, miksiv ke'evre abakir, it doesn't say like the evorim of the morning. Ke'minchas abakir ksiv, it says like the mincha. Meaning it's stressing, the point is like it's the mincha of the morning, but not like the evorim. So it's specifically that it precedes the mincha, but not the evorim.